So I took my coat off, and boom, out my father comes, and he says, "Where's your coat?"
After almost 5 decades in the family mortuary business, you're bound to amass a collection of stories. Like the time a young Bill Cutler learned in no uncertain terms that he should always have his suit coat on, even if it's a sweltering 100 degrees out and the guys at the funeral home next door aren't wearing theirs.
Then I made my fatal mistake. I said, "Look next door, Pops." I said, "Those guys are parking cars. They got short sleeve shirts. They don't have their coat on." He looked over and he says, "Well, why don't you get your coat and go next door and see if they'll give you a job?" So from that point on, I never took my coat off, and we always wore white shirts.
Something else he's always done? Maintained his passion for the job and the sense of privilege that comes from supporting others during their darkest hours.
You know, I've always said it's not a sin not to know the people when they come to us. The sin is if when they leave us, we don't know them, and they don't feel like they know us.
Born and raised in Council Bluffs, Bill graduated from Abraham Lincoln High School in 1966, and 3 years later, the Dallas Institute of Mortuary Science. What he was going to do with his life was never in question.
I'm blessed, because all I ever wanted to do is what I do.
The lineage of the Cutler family business dates back to the 1850s and a great-great-grandfather in Indiana. Bill's great-grandfather opened Cutler Funeral Home in Council Bluffs in 1901.
Council Bluffs was a great community to grow up in, and a great place to begin my career in funeral service.
As a boy, Bill would walk by the family mortuary on his way to and from school. His father would put him to work sweeping the sidewalk and cutting the grass. He eventually graduated to washing the cars.
I was never allowed in the building until I was about 14 years old. He said that the inside of the funeral home was no place for a kid, so I always stayed outside and did the outside work, which was, I might tell you, I was really a good car washer, and I washed a lot of cars in my day.
As Bill grew up in the business grew too, through mergers, partnerships, and acquisitions. The original Cutler Funeral Home is now Cutler-O'Neill-Meyer-Woodring Funeral Home. The Omaha partnership, Heafey-Hoffmann-Dworak and Cutler Mortuaries and Crematory, offers a combined 200 years of experience.
35, 40 years ago, the big trend in funeral homes were the big corporations coming in and buying everybody, all the small locals. And my father and I had no interest in selling our business, but we knew we needed to get bigger, so we just chose to get bigger by combining with other people. But we still do what my great-grandfather did. We take care of people.
Bill says it's his job and the job of his staff to listen, to figure out what the grieving need and facilitate it.
My dad always said you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so the theory is keep your mouth closed and your ears open.
What Bill learned about the funeral business, he learned primarily from his father, William Cutler II, who passed away 4 years ago.
And my father was very unique, and I would call and explain to him, you know, "Dad, here's what I'm thinking about doing, what do you think?" And he would never say, "Well, if you lost your mind, why would you do that?" But his way of saying it was, "Well, have you ever thought about doing this?" And I had the luxury of working for him all those years, and we never had a fight.
Bill also counts among his great influences his father-in-law and his friends of his father who watched out for him.
You know, I really had a lot of mentors through the course of my life, and still do. I mean, the great thing about Omaha, I mean, no matter where you go, there's always people that will help you and kind of mentor you along, and we all need that.
And then there's his rock, his wife Susan, a key driver of his happiness and success.
In my case, I found the right spouse, which helped me along immensely. She's a wonderful wife. She's very involved in the community. She's a terrific mother and a terrific grandmother, and she keeps the home fires burning, of course.
Married since 1970, Bill and Susan have 2 daughters, Jeannie Jones and Jackie Conway, and a son, William IV, who has followed his father into the family business. I
stay awake at night worrying about lots of things, but the continuation of this company under his leadership is one of the things that I spend any time worrying about.
The Cutlers moved from Council Bluffs to Omaha in 1987. Bill calls our Heartland community a wonderful place to live, work, and raise a family.
You know, I'm not sure there's anywhere in the country you could go and find a place where you have more generous people than in you know, the Heartlands that we're fortunate to live in.
Bill and Susan are both generous with their time, each serving on a number of boards, including Methodist Hospital Foundation for Susan and College of St. Mary for Bill. He is also the longtime board president of the Nebraska Organ Recovery System.
You know, I take a great deal of pride in the work that organization does.
The Cutlers have 5 grandchildren. All of them live in Omaha.
Being a grandpa is a pretty good deal. It's really a good deal.
And here's a deal for you. When you tell them the story of this evening, it'll be suit coat optional. Welcome to the Omaha Business Hall of Fame, Mr. Cutler.